Hi, it's Ursula from ursula-smith.com, and I am trying to intersperse my experiments with what I would call like toss-aways, something that I wasn't happy with, or in this case, I wrecked it by having ink on my hands and dropping a blob of it onto a printed piece. So this started out as a background that I made using the distressed oxide sprays and that sort of thing. So that's like the blue background. And then I layered over it a pattern that I had made on my computer, and then printed the whole thing out. So this is a printout. It has nothing on it. So a lot of times what I do with my printouts is I'll pull over one of the crackle finishes. My favorite is the distress crazing medium, so the distress collage medium, but they used to make it in a crazing version, so you would get these nice little crackles. That is not being made anymore, and so now you will have to use the translucent crackle paste instead. But while I still have the crazing, that is my go-to. And so that gives a coating to the paper, so inks and sprays and crayons and watercolor pencils and pens will float a little bit better. This one is not coated. So I don't generally use it this way, but I'm going to try some of the distress pencils and try to color over it directly. And so that was carved pumpkin. So I'm going to grab the carved pumpkin. Thinking maybe I want the saltwater taffy and then maybe some yellow. And let's try those to start. And so these will move with water. On the uncoated paper, I'm not sure they'll move all that much. So I'm going to try first just to color it directly. So let's start with this flower, since that's the one I wrecked. And the spray stain, the distress oxide spray stain, and the regular spray stain will probably be a little bit more opaque. So maybe I want to come over with a slightly darker shade and kind of camouflage that effect or that fact. I might need even a darker. And so I could just kind of go around. I don't have to do every single flower. Like maybe I just pick the random small ones. But in essence, what I'm trying to do is camouflage the fact that I wrecked the flowers. And I think that might be enough to still be able to use this. I really feel like it needs a slightly darker red-ish color in there. So I'm going to go around and just kind of continue coloring whichever ones I want, and then we'll have to figure out what we're going to do about that little blotch. And when I'm done coloring, I will be back. Okay, I'm back. And what I did was I ended up using scattered straw on some of the larger flowers at the tops of them, and then I brought in festive berries, just kind of shading towards the center. May want to punch up the centers a little bit, but what I'm going to try to do to see if I can get rid of that orange blotch, that random orange blotch, is just see if I can. So this is chipped sapphire, which I feel like kind of matches the color, the blue color going on in the background, and just see if I can go over that orange and again kind of deflect a little bit. And I may, some of the colors don't go on great dry, so we could try them wet. And I feel like this paintbrush, ooh, good thing I tested. So let me, I'm trying to find my paper towel I have going on. Nope. So I'm just going to try and clean this brush real quick. Yeah, purple in the mix definitely would not have been fun. We would have ended up with a whole new bunch of problems. Okay, so that looks like that's out of there for the most part. Okay, so I can try to see if I can just pick up some of the color off the crayon itself. And lightly go over that spot. You can kind of still see that it's orangey. There is lighter blue blotches, if you can see, kind of like there and there. So the other thing I could try, because that does not seem like that's going to help much, is maybe coming back in with some Distress Oxide spray. And now, of course, that's wet, so I probably should wait till that's dry, but let's, that even may be too dark. Or too blue. That might not be bad, especially once it dries. It's kind of drying down, so that might fix the problem. So I'm gonna let that dry for a couple of minutes, put my crayons away, and then we will reevaluate when I come back. Okay, so it's not completely dry, but it is drying down, and I think it's gonna end up working because I have all these other blotches of the lighter blue. And then I did go back in and just use a paintbrush. I had a blotch of the Salty Ocean Distress Oxide spray, and I just used a paintbrush to pick some of it up and dot it into the circles of the flowers. So I think that's gonna work. Worst comes to worse, I can always layer something over that spot. And this is just cut from a piece of scrap paper. So this was my mop up. When I did the orange spray, I mopped up the leftover ink with just scrap paper, and then I can cut something from that, whether it's a flower or a sentiment, just to kind of hide that little spot. But I feel like it isn't that bad because of all the other blotches that are in the background. And so one of the nice things of using the Distress Oxides, and then if you print them out, if you have a boo-boo, you can always go back in with the same colors that you used and kind of fix it. And so now I've even forgotten where, oh, here it is. That's the blotch. So again, you could just layer something over the top if you really didn't like that blotch. But I think we salvaged that piece. So thanks for joining me. See you next time.